My son Marcus told me I was too embarrassing to live with anymore, and that his new wife couldn't stand having me around their perfect little life. But what he didn't know was that I was already 3 steps ahead, planning something that would make him understand what real embarrassment felt like. This is exactly how I made the boy I raised with my own bleeding hands learn that you never, ever underestimate the woman who gave you everything, because what I did next didn't just humble him. It destroyed every fake relationship he built on lies about who his mother really was. If you want to see this revenge play out to the bitter end, if you've ever felt thrown away by family who forgot what you sacrificed for them, hit that subscribe button right now, because you're going to want to celebrate with me when Marcus realizes he picked the wrong woman to discard. I raised Marcus by myself after his father died when he was 12. For 18 years, I worked double shifts at the textile factory, came home with fingers cracked from the machines, and spent every weekend at his football games, baseball practices, academic competitions. I remember sitting in my car outside his college dormitory, eating peanut butter sandwiches for dinner because I'd spent my last $40 making sure his meal plan was paid up. I wore the same 3 dresses to every parent function, because every extra penny went toward his textbooks, his applications, his future. When Marcus graduated law school, I was so proud I couldn't stop crying during the ceremony. I had made it happen. My boy was going to have the life I never could. He hugged me that day and whispered, "Mom, I'm going to take care of you now. You'll never have to worry about anything again." I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. The first few years were wonderful. Marcus got hired at a prestigious firm, bought a beautiful house, and I had my own little apartment nearby. We had dinner every Sunday, and he'd tell me about his cases, his dreams of making partner. I was so happy watching him succeed, watching him become the man I'd always known he could be. Then he met Victoria. Victoria was everything I wasn't. Young, polished, came from money. Her father was a judge. Her mother ran charity galas. She had never worked a day in her life, never had dirt under her fingernails, never knew what it felt like to choose between groceries and rent. And from the moment Marcus brought her home, I could see the way she looked at me, like I was something that had tracked mud across her perfect white carpet. At first, Marcus tried to balance both worlds. He'd still call, still visit, but I could feel him pulling away. Victoria would make little comments during dinners. "Oh, Marcus told me you worked in a factory. How interesting." Or, "Marcus, didn't you say your mother never went to college? That must have been limiting." Always with that smile, that tone that sounded polite but felt like a slap. The real change happened after they got engaged. Suddenly, Marcus was too busy for our Sunday dinners, too tired for phone calls. When I did see him, Victoria was always there, steering conversations, making plans that somehow never included me. At their engagement party, I overheard her talking to her friends about Marcus's difficult family situation and how she was helping him establish better boundaries. I started feeling sick around that time. Dizzy spells, fatigue, trouble remembering things. My doctor said it was stress, maybe early signs of blood pressure issues. But I knew what it really was. It was the sickness that comes from watching your child choose someone else's approval over your love. The wedding was beautiful, and I barely existed in it. Victoria had insisted on a small ceremony, intimate family only, which apparently meant her extended family of 50 people, and me sitting alone in the back row. During the reception, I tried to approach Marcus for our traditional mother-son dance, but Victoria intercepted me. "Oh, we decided to skip that tradition," she said sweetly. It felt too old-fashioned. I watched my son dance with Victoria's mother instead. That was 2 years ago. 2 years of canceled visits, forgotten birthdays, and watching my son transform into someone I didn't recognize. Someone who was embarrassed by the woman who gave him everything. But I wasn't as forgotten as they thought I was. See, Marcus might have inherited his father's looks, but he got my brain. And what Marcus and Victoria didn't realize was that during all those years I was working factory jobs, I was also taking night classes, business administration, accounting, real estate law. I might not have had their fancy degrees, but I had something better. I had street smarts and 40 years of watching people underestimate me. About 6 months ago, I started noticing things. Marcus would make excuses when I called, saying he was busy with work, but I'd drive by his house and see his car in the driveway on weekdays. Victoria posted constantly on social media about their vacation to Europe, their new furniture, their expensive dinners, but Marcus had told me they couldn't afford to help with my medical bills. Little things that didn't add up. Then came the phone call that changed everything. "Mom, we need to talk," Marcus said, his voice strained. "Victoria and I have been discussing your situation, my situation, like I was a problem to be solved. You've been having more health issues lately, and we're concerned about you living alone. We think it might be time to consider other arrangements." Other arrangements? He couldn't even say the words. "We found a really nice facility about 2 hours away. It's got great programs, and you'd be around people your own age. Victoria thinks." "What do you think, Marcus?" I interrupted. Silence. Then, "I think it's what's best for everyone." Everyone meaning him and Victoria. I was no longer part of everyone. "I need time to think about it," I said. "Of course, Mom. Take your time. We just want what's best for you." After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, looking at the photo on my refrigerator. Marcus at his law school graduation, his arm around me, both of us beaming. I touched his face in the picture and said out loud, "You have no idea who you're dealing with, son." That night, I called my neighbor Dorothy, who had been a legal secretary for 30 years before she retired. "Dorothy," I said, "I need the name of the best family attorney in town. Someone who doesn't play games." "Honey, what's wrong?" she asked. "My boy has forgotten where he came from," I said, "and I'm going to remind him." The next morning, I was sitting in the office of Patricia Welsh, Esquire. Patricia was about my age, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, and the first thing she said to me was, "Tell me everything, and don't leave out the parts that make you angry." So I did. I told her about the factory work, the sacrifices, the way Marcus had changed after meeting Victoria. I told her about the forgotten birthdays, the cancelled visits, the conversation about other arrangements. And when I finished, Patricia leaned back in her chair and smiled. "Mrs. Johnson," she said, "I think your son has made a very expensive mistake. Here's what Marcus didn't know. When his father died, he left a small life insurance policy and a piece of property, 10 acres of land outside town that wasn't worth much at the time. I had put that land in a trust with Marcus as the beneficiary, but with very specific conditions. The land would only transfer to him if he maintained a relationship with me and provided care as I aged. It was his father's idea, actually, a way to make sure I'd always be taken care of. Over the years, that land had increased in value, significantly. A developer had been trying to buy it for months, offering amounts that would set someone up for life. Marcus had no idea any of this existed, but that wasn't the best part. The best part was what Patricia discovered when she started digging into Marcus and Victoria's finances. See, Marcus had been telling me they couldn't afford to help with my medical bills, but public records told a different story. They'd just bought a vacation home. Victoria's car payment was more than my monthly rent. And most interesting of all, Marcus had recently borrowed money against his practice, listing me as a reference for his family stability and strong character. He'd been using my relationship with him to secure loans while simultaneously planning to abandon me. Patricia smiled when she explained this to me. Your son has committed what we call elder fraud in several ways, using his relationship with you for financial gain, while planning to institutionalize you against your wishes. That's a serious legal issue. But more than that, He's about to lose something much more valuable than money. What's that? I asked. His reputation. If you're sitting there feeling angry about what Marcus did to me, if you're thinking about someone in your own life who's treated family like disposable conveniences, leave me a comment right now because I need to know I'm not the only one who thinks this behavior is absolutely unacceptable. Your support gives me strength to keep telling stories like this. We spent 3 weeks preparing. Patricia filed paperwork with the court regarding the land trust and Marcus's obligations. She also prepared a comprehensive report on elder abuse and financial exploitation, using Marcus's own words from recorded conversations, where he'd lied about their financial situation while asking me to understand why they couldn't help me. But the real masterpiece was Patricia's idea for how to reveal everything. You see, Marcus's law firm was hosting their annual charity gala, the biggest social event of the year for the legal community. Victoria had been planning it for months, posting about her dress, the decorations, how it was going to be the social event of the season. All of Marcus's colleagues would be there, along with judges, potential clients, and Victoria's entire social circle. 3 days before the gala, Marcus called me again about the facility. Mom, we need an answer. Victoria's been looking at brochures, and there's one place that has an opening next month. It's really nice, and Marcus, I interrupted. Before I give you my answer, I need to ask you something. Do you remember what your father used to say about family? Mom, I don't think this is the time for. He used to say that family isn't just blood, it's choice. Every day, you choose to honor the people who made you who you are, or you choose to throw them away for something that looks shinier. Which choice are you making, son? Silence. I'm trying to do what's best for everyone, he finally said. No, Marcus. You're doing what's easiest for you. There's a difference. More silence. I need your answer about the facility, Mom. I took a deep breath. You'll have my answer at the gala on Saturday. What? Mom, you're not invited to the... Oh, but I am, sweetheart. Patricia Welsh is my +1. I'll see you there. I hung up before he could respond. Saturday night, I put on my best dress. The same black dress I'd worn to his father's funeral, Marcus's graduation, and every important event in his life. I did my hair, put on the pearl earrings his father had given me for our anniversary, and met Patricia outside the hotel. Ready? She asked. I've been ready for months, I said. The gala was everything Victoria had promised. Beautiful decorations, elegant people. The kind of event where everyone was performing their importance for each other. I saw Marcus and Victoria near the bar, surrounded by his colleagues. Victoria was wearing a dress that probably cost more than my rent, and Marcus was laughing at something one of the senior partners had said. They hadn't seen me yet. Patricia and I took a table near the back, and I watched. I watched my son work the room, charming clients, impressing judges, building the career I had made possible. I watched Victoria flutter around like the perfect lawyer's wife, accepting compliments on the decorations, the food, her dress. During dinner, the firm's managing partner, Robert Hayes, stood up to make a speech about the importance of family and community support in building successful careers. He talked about how the firm valued attorneys who demonstrated stability and strong family values. That's when Patricia stood up. Excuse me, she said, her voice carrying across the room. I'd like to say something about family values. The room went quiet. Robert looked confused but nodded for her to continue. My name is Patricia Welsh, and I'm here tonight representing my client, Mrs. Eleanor Johnson. Some of you might know her son, Marcus Johnson, who works at this firm. I saw Marcus's face go white. Victoria grabbed his arm. Patricia continued. Mrs. Johnson wanted me to share a story about family values, about a woman who worked double shifts for 18 years to put her son through law school, who sacrificed everything so he could have the opportunities that brought him to this room tonight. The room was completely silent now. Every eye was on Patricia, but I could feel people starting to look around for me. Mrs. Johnson also wanted me to share what happened when her son became successful, How he began to see her as an embarrassment. How he told her she was too embarrassing to live with, and tried to force her into an institution while lying about his financial ability to help her. Gasps, murmurs. I watched Marcus try to stand up, but his legs seemed to have given out. "But most importantly," Patricia said, "Mrs. Johnson wanted me to tell you about the land trust her late husband established. 10 acres that are now worth $2.3 million. Land that was supposed to transfer to Marcus upon her death, provided he honored his obligation to care for her." More gasps. Someone whispered, $2 million. As of today, that trust has been revoked due to Marcus's breach of his filial obligations. The land will instead be donated to establish a foundation for elderly abuse victims. The room erupted. People were looking around, trying to figure out where I was, whispering to each other. I saw Victoria lean over and hiss something at Marcus, who was staring at Patricia like she'd just announced the end of the world. But Patricia wasn't finished. Mrs. Johnson also wanted me to address the issue of professional integrity. You see, Marcus recently used his relationship with his mother as collateral for business loans, claiming to have strong family values and stability. At the same time, he was planning to abandon her. This constitutes elder fraud, and paperwork has been filed with the State Bar Association. That's when I stood up. Every head in the room turned toward me. I looked directly at Marcus, who was staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. "Hello, son," I said, my voice carrying across the silent room. I walked slowly toward the front, and the crowd parted like the Red Sea. With each step, I could feel the energy in the room shift. These people weren't just watching a legal drama unfold. They were witnessing a reckoning. When I reached the front of the room, I looked out at all those faces. Judges, lawyers, society people, all hanging on my every word. "My name is Eleanor Johnson," I said, "and I want to tell you about my son." I looked directly at Marcus. "I raised you to be better than this. I taught you that success without integrity is just failure in an expensive suit. Tonight everyone in this room gets to see which lessons stuck." The silence was deafening. "Victoria," I said, turning to her, "you wanted to know what it felt like to be embarrassed by family. Now you know." Victoria's face was red, tears streaming down her cheeks. Half the room was staring at her with pity, the other half with disgust. But I wasn't done. "Marcus, you said I was too embarrassing to live with. But the only embarrassing thing in this room tonight is a grown man who forgot that love isn't supposed to be conditional on convenience." I walked over to him. Up close, I could see that he was crying. "The land trust your father set up? I didn't revoke it out of spite. I revoked it because he made me promise that money would only go to a man who honored family. You're not that man anymore." Marcus tried to speak, but nothing came out. "However," I continued, and the room leaned in, "Patricia has drawn up new papers. If you can spend the next year proving that you remember who raised you, if you can show me that my son is still in there somewhere, we can discuss reinstating the trust." I leaned closer to him. "But first, you're going to stand up in front of all these people and apologize to the woman who gave you everything." Marcus looked around the room. Every face was watching him. His career, his reputation, his marriage. Everything depended on what he did next. Slowly, Marcus stood up. His voice was shaky when he spoke. I want to apologize to my mother. She's right. Everything she said is right. I forgot who I was supposed to be." He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The room was completely silent. Then from somewhere in the back, someone started clapping. Slowly, others joined in, until the entire room was applauding. But I wasn't applauding. I was watching my son's face, trying to see if there was any of the boy I'd raised still left in there. "Apology noted," I said. "We'll see if your actions match your words." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and Marcus, Victoria, you might want to start looking for a new social circle. Word travels fast in small towns." As I walked out with Patricia, I could hear the room erupting in conversation behind us. By Monday morning, everyone in town would know exactly what kind of man Marcus Johnson really was. The aftermath was swift and devastating for Marcus and Victoria in all the ways they'd cared about most. Within a week, 3 major clients had dropped Marcus's firm, specifically requesting that he not work on their cases. The State Bar Association opened an investigation into his professional conduct. Victoria's country club friends suddenly became too busy for lunch dates, and their vacation home went on the market within a month. But the most satisfying part was watching their marriage crumble under the weight of what they'd shown each other. Victoria had married Marcus thinking he was a successful, stable man with family money. Instead, she'd discovered he was someone who would betray his own mother for social acceptance. Marcus had thought Victoria loved him for who he was, but watching her turn cold and distant when the money disappeared showed him exactly what their relationship was really built on. They separated 3 months later. Victoria moved back to her parents' house, and Marcus started showing up at my door. The first time he came, I didn't let him in. He stood on my porch for 2 hours, talking through the screen door about how sorry he was, how he'd lost himself, how he wanted to make things right. I listened, but I didn't respond. The second time, he brought groceries and offered to help with yard work. I let him mow the lawn, but still didn't invite him inside. It took 6 months of persistent visits, of Marcus slowly proving that he was willing to rebuild our relationship on my terms, before I finally let him come in for coffee. "Mom," he said, sitting at my kitchen table like he had when he was a boy, "I know I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know that losing you was worse than losing everything else combined." I studied his face. The arrogance was gone. The shame was still there, but underneath it, I could see something that looked like the son I'd raised. "Marcus," I said, "I didn't do what I did to punish you. I did it to save you. You were becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone your father would have been ashamed of." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I know, and I hate who I became." "Then don't be that person anymore," I said simply. "It's been 8 months since the gala, and Marcus and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship. He comes over every Sunday for dinner, just like we used to. He helps with my medical appointments and doesn't complain about the cost. Most importantly, he talks to me like I'm his mother again, not an obligation. The land trust hasn't been reinstated yet. Marcus understands that trust once broken takes time to rebuild, but we're working on it, one Sunday dinner at a time. As for Victoria, she remarried 6 months after their divorce was final. Some banker from the city who doesn't know about her first marriage's dramatic end. I heard she's pregnant now, probably hoping this baby will give her the secure future she thought she'd get with Marcus. The foundation I established with the land trust money has already helped 12 elderly people fight various forms of family abuse. Patricia runs it for free, saying it's the most satisfying work she's ever done. Every case we take reminds me that I'm not the only parent who's been thrown away by children who forgot where they came from. Last week, Marcus asked me something that surprised me. "Mom, do you think Dad would be proud of how we're handling this? The rebuilding, I mean." I thought about his father, about the man who'd worked 2 jobs to support us before he died, who'd insisted on setting up that land trust to protect me. "Your father always said that the measure of a man isn't whether he falls down, it's whether he gets back up and does better," I told Marcus. "I think he'd be proud that you're trying to get back up." "And you?" Marcus asked. "Are you proud of me?" I looked at my son, really looked at him. The expensive clothes were gone, replaced by simple shirts and jeans. The arrogance had been replaced by humility. The boy I'd raised was starting to show through again. "I'm proud that you're becoming the man I raised you to be," I said. "But Marcus, I need you to understand something. What happened at that gala, what I did to you, that wasn't revenge. That was a wake-up call. The real question now is what you do with the life you still have." Marcus nodded. "I won't waste it again, Mom. I promise. Sometimes people ask me if I regret humiliating Marcus so publicly, if I think there might have been another way to handle the situation. My answer is always the same. I didn't humiliate Marcus. Marcus humiliated himself by forgetting that the woman who raised him deserved better than being thrown away for social convenience. What I did was simply make sure the right people saw who he really was. And sometimes that's exactly what someone needs to find their way back to who they're supposed to be. Age doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise enough to know when it's time to stop accepting disrespect. If my story gave you the courage to demand better treatment from people who have forgotten your worth, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments about the person in your life who needs to remember where they came from. Together, we can remind the world that underestimating your elders is always a mistake, and I want to support you in that mission too. The last thing Marcus said to me yesterday was, "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on you." And you know what? That made every moment of planning, every night of anger, every second of that public confrontation worth it. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is showing them the consequences of their choices before it's too late to change.